Good morning. So, I want to take the opportunity to speak about a very important subject, and this is the subject of the horrors of the Israeli state. We have these three, I would say, dioramas, open containers with waters that you already know exactly. What is their content. They are open to the street, open to the environment. Of course, I live in this room. This is a good opportunity to speak about Israel. What I'm going to say now is something that in the open public, like in the public sphere, is virtually unknown. But everyone in the intelligence community of Israel knows that as a fact of life. And I would say that among the other intelligence agencies of the world, that they comprise almost all, if not all of my listeners right now, at least at that moment, hopefully not forever, but among them it should be like a common knowledge. It's probably not common knowledge only if people just don't want to know. Be whatever case it is, it's very important to speak about the following subject. It will not be easy to hear. I will elaborate on things that I've spoken in the past, but it's not going to be. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to hear it. These are things that pass all borders of what we mean when we speak about humanity. This is something that's completely inhuman. It is horrible and disgusting beyond any imagination. But this is reality, and it's the reality right now, and it was the reality probably since 48, but certainly since 1967. And we should speak about it. These things should be uttered. We cannot obey to this order of silence of the Israelis that always shout at us, if you speak, you will be put in prison or in mental institution. No, we cannot obey their order. These things should be said. From time to time, I'm laughing at or mocking or making jokes on I would call it the method of the Israeli intelligence, specifically of the Shabak, but probably of the Mossad as well. The method, I don't know. It's probably not something that it has a name, but it's their. The totality of their actions and I would say psychological means or psychological terror, procedures that are aimed to change the behavior of other people, in presumably indistinguishable way, presumably in a way that is not detectable by either the person itself or the surrounding. I say presumably because it's very easy. You learn to identify exactly what they do, but initially you do not observe it. So I'm making jokes on this method because I understood very well that it's 90% of what they do is just this method. It's almost all of what they do is surrounding this method of seemingly psychological suggestion or subliminal influence. And it's ridiculous because when you identify what they do, it's so. How many times can you see grown people shouting all sort or speaking all sort of seemingly ridiculous words or numbers or scratching their heads in a very specific way, with the hope that it will that you presumably as the robot will be subjected to the will, or all sort of fantastic and juvenile and sadistic ideas that and you ask yourself, what am I doing here? What am I doing in this snake pit? It's not even a snake pit. It's like a petri dish full of ridiculous bacteria. Maybe you've heard the running sound right now, which is also very common, psychological suggestion that will make the robot stop whatever it is doing. So this kind of like slime mold and like, I don't know, just trash pit, Jorah, as they say in Arabic, in Old Hebrew, Jorah. It is just a Jorah that I living in, so disgusting and stupid that the only way that I can actually handle it is to make fun of it, but it's incredibly unfunny, and I want to speak about it a little bit. This method, there are several things that, I mean, you could be said about it that are very important. First of all, and this is the first thing that I understood, it's almost entirely what they're doing, and everyone in the Israeli like defense and like intelligence sector are very, very versed in this method. So it's something that's prevalent all around the Israeli society, and it's rooted in the Israeli society. They know about it for many years, and it doesn't require technology, even though, of course, it's amplified significantly using like things like iPhones and in general monitors that are very prevalent in our society. But you understand that the root of this method could have been used like at the end of the 19th century, and it's probably started to be used in the end on the end of the 19th century. So that's, I mean, the majority of what they do, and it's like all of them are doing it. So it wasn't invented for me. I mean, that's the first thing that I understood on the matter. So they're doing it to a lot of people. And also, it should be said that it's a method that cannot be used, or it can very limited. It can. I will quote myself. It can be used abroad, like by Mossad people, but to a very limited extent. First of all, and above all, this is a method that is used for subjugation of your own population. Like, it's far like incredibly more easier and like and probably, I mean, done in incredibly larger scales to their own population than abroad. This is a method that is used to put the boot on the faces of your own population. And for certain it was invented in Soviet Russia. I would suggest even a little bit before the revolution. Like, I think that I have all sorts of clues that hints me that this actually was invented by the intelligence of the Russian Tsar. But for certain it was perfected and heavily used by, after the revolution, like 1917 revolution, by the organizations that were later solidified together to form the KGB, the famous KGB. But before the KGB there were other organizations, and my assumption is that this organization actually perfected or developed this method that, as again, I think I have clues to believe that was actually invented during the late era of the Russian Tsars. I don't know if the Nazis actually used this method. What I do know for the fact that, the Nazi society, like the German Nazi society, in that aspect was very similar to the Soviet society, in the specific aspect of that a large part of what they did was to subjugate their own population. Not only of like what they've seen as like the negative, like the inherently negative part of the population, like the Jews, but even more so, and especially in that context, it was aimed on the German society itself. And in that, in this aspect, the main the main villains, or the main antagonists of the system were not the Jews or the Gypsies or the black people, or the homosexuals, but the German people, like the Aryans, or those that were identified as Aryans, but did not comply with the demands of the Nazi party. For certain, these were the main antagonists from the point of view of the system, or the method, this method. But I do not know to how extent it was used actually by the Gestapo, or I don't know, the other branches of the German Nazi state. I know that they certainly had the same motivation and the same inclinations that were prevalent in the Soviet state at this time and later, to subjugate your own population, and especially the people that are, that you view as as part of as part of the society, as potentially, integral part of the society, but that they did not comply with the system and the demands of the party. And the main the main forces that acted to subjugate them were the people surrounding them. So it was this, again, in the Soviet context. What it means is that the dissidents, of course, ultimately the fate of the dissidents, as we all know, was the Gulag. But when we speak about the Gulag, we speak about, enemies of society, or supposedly enemies of societies from all stratas of the Russian, of the huge Soviet empire. But this method, its main victim and targets were not dissidents from all over the society, but again, integral people of society, people that lived in Stalingrad, or Petrograd, or whatever, or St. Petersburg, or whatever the names changed, or Moscow. People that could have belonged to the elites of the Soviet society, but were not complying with the demands. And again, but they did not comply, not in a very explicit way, because if it was totally implicit, they could have been sent to jail or something like that, and ultimately to the Gulag. But overt, if it's non-overt, if it's implicit, I would say non-compliance, it was it fell under the sphere of this method. And the agents of this method, the people that actually applied this method, were the people of the Soviet society itself, all over the place. So this method it was invented in order to subjugate and to trap and to decriminalize and to shame people of your own society, and not specifically those that are that belong to the stratus of society that traditionally creates criminals, or overt strong or very loud political dissidents, but to the non-complying elements of society that belong to the stratas where most of your elites are actually live. Just a second. Now, since this method, the agents of that, that execute the method are the people, the common people in the cities where the targets are staying, this method is also used not only to criminalize the negative, the non-obeying persons that are the targets, but also to reinforce loyalty within the executors. Because when everyone around the targets are doing their, repeating, and there is a lot of repetition in the system, in this method, when they are repeating the psychological influence, in whatever form it takes, they're repeatedly doing the noises and the weird rituals. It's not only presumably affect the target, but it also affects them, because they their loyalty to the system is reinforced because it's like a practical religion. Like, I mean, in that aspect, it's similar to Orthodox Judaism that is reinforced by repetition of many actions, like all around the day. Like not only words, but only actions. All sort of like action, but many words that you need to repeat all over the day, all your life. And this reinforces you into the religion much more than, like, I mean, it's, religion lessons or philosophical like indoctrination. The indoctrination is done. I mean, of course, that indoctrination, specifically in the Soviet context, it was very like prevalent. Like indoctrination in the way that we always think about, like in schools and in the media. But the method itself, the method that I speak about, does not require indoctrination of that sort, because the method in itself is a type of indoctrination which is done by the repetition of actions. When you hunt your prey all day long and you repeatedly, saying the same words or doing the same rituals, you are, you as the prosecutors, as the society that is prosecuting the victims, they are indoctrinated by their own actions. So that's how it's done. I will jump to the future. That's how it's done in Israel. In Israel, this is the main, instrument of indoctrination of the people that belongs to the system, to the intelligence community, which is huge, or the different community. That's how they are indoctrinated. They are not there is of course there is indoctrination in school and like in the media, of course, but it's not. Obviously, it's not as strong as it was in the Soviet Empire. From that aspect, yes, Israel is a democracy. From that aspect. But this kind of indoctrination, while it exists, it doesn't need to be that like loud as it was in totalitarian, explicit in non-democratic states. Because the much stronger type of indoctrination, the practical indoctrination, is so prevalent in society. They repeat the same actions again and again. The actions that supposedly should subjugate the enemies of the state amongst them. And whether they succeed or not, it doesn't, it's not of great importance, because they certainly succeed in indoctrinating themselves as little schools that are part of this satanic system. Now, when I understood it, my next question was, okay, but who are the targets? I am a target, but I'm not the only target. So who are the targets of this system? Because I understood that in Israel there is no opposition within the intelligence community. They are all robots. They are all, Nazis. They will all do whatever asked for them without question. I understood very quickly that I live in a society where there is no opposition at all. Yeah, people can spend their free day on Friday morning to go to, presumably hold demonstration against the prime minister, but the same people, whatever they are, if they are doctors, they are nurses, whatever their job is, when a person will come at their doors of their office and say, I am a representative of the Misrad Rosh HaMemshala, like the office of the prime minister, which is in charge of the Mossad and the Shabak, they will comply with any demands. 100% of the cases. When this person will tell them, tomorrow a person will go to your door, please, you're a doctor, tell him, write him this, prescribe him this medicine, they will do it. And then, when the nurse, when the pharmacist at the near pharmacy, when this person will tell him, hi, I'm a representative of the office of the prime minister, and please, tomorrow, or the day after, this person will come with the prescription of this drug. Please give him not that battle, but the other battle. 100% will comply with the demand. 100%. Doesn't matter what, if they went to this demonstration of the other, or 100% will comply with the demand. 100%. By the way, this was not the case in Nazi Germany. Not 100% of the Germans, even within the Nazi party, complied with such demands that were common in the Nazi days. It was common, but not everyone complied. In Israel, 100% comply. There is 0% of disobedience to the system in Israel. All the doctors, all the pharmacists will do exactly as they said. They were asked. No question asked. 100%. This is a society that is the most totalitarian and obedient of any society that ever existed in the history of humankind. This should be stated right now. 100% will comply. Now, never mind if they are doctors, if they are like psychiatrists, if they are like police officers, if they are wardens in jails, if they are pharmacists, if they are engineers that should presumably fix things in your house, like technicians or engineers in like a higher. 100% will comply, and needless to say that 100% of like news reporters or whatever, like the usual transmitters of propaganda and the usual transmitters of like messages that are aimed at the specific people of the intelligence community. That was done like since the 19th century, like using the newspapers and like mass communication to transfer like messages between operatives. So of course 100% of them will actually comply. This is needless to say because they are all in that way or another. They are in the pocket of the government in Israel. 100% will comply with any demand. Yes, including like if they would ask like to replace like the medicine that should be given to a child, and they know that it's a child because it's in the prescription. 100% will comply. 100% will comply with the demand. 100%, not 99%. 100% of the people in Israel that will be asked, give this person that battle instead of that battle in the pharmacy, for example. 100% will comply with the demand, not 99%. 100% will say, yes, sir. 100%. And that is a fact. But let's get back to the method. So I asked myself, who are the targets of this method? Like, what's the target of, what population are the targets? I understood that presumably Titans like myself, like specifically male Titans, were in the past, like, severe victims of the method. But I also understood that they died. They either committed suicide or they somehow went back to their home world. I don't know if it's even possible, but maybe they did, because they were asked. What part of the job was that to hunt like other like the people in their home places. So they've done like they went through the gates like back and forth. But I don't know if it's possible to them actually stay there, because as we know very well, they were poisoned, like the usual stuff that is still done today, like with injection that requires them to keep being like injected like once a week or so in order to stay alive. The only reason that I am not like subjected to such a treatment is that they can't do it to me. They can, of course they tried, but the nanobots in the body just kill this whatever it is. Like I don't know how it works, but it doesn't work on me. They can't do it to me. Like whatever little injection that they can like put in me, I will not be under there. I can run. Right now I'm under arrest, but like presumably before I was under arrest, I could like fly abroad and never return to Israel. The reason why I didn't do it is because I have daughters here, as you know very well. But I don't need any like special treatment in order to counteract any like supposedly things that they have done to me. Not because they didn't want to, but because they cannot. I am not a Titan. I was not born in Venus, and I am a representative of another species, the cherubs. But of course, that's what they've done it to them, and maybe for that reason they couldn't like stay in Venus. But maybe some of them obtained the antidote. I don't know how it works actually, and returned to Venus. Maybe they somehow escaped abroad, but I don't know. And maybe some live here, but they're all imprisoned or in mental institution. I don't know. But it was pretty clear to me that almost all. Maybe one or two didn't. Maybe I'm not. Maybe there are like small number of like male Titans that actually live and active in Israel today. But even if they are, it's like probably they could be counted on like on a hand. Like with like singles, like a bunch of singles. But the great majority they were murdered by the Israelis long ago, during the 70s. And I understood like very long ago that There are, effectively, there are not many Titans in Israel right now. They thought of me as one of them, but I'm not. But and certainly there are no, there is zero number of like Titans that are active like under the aegis of the Israeli intelligence. They lost all their Titans. If some like actually lived in Israel, and it's a possibility, I'm certain that they are like for sure they are crippled, like both in body and in mind, and like they live in prisons or mental institution, or but most probably they are just not here. Like they more murdered, but murdered and eaten, like cannibalized. They were eaten because of the content of their body also contains the nanobots, like in a much like lesser degree than myself, and it's not the same nanobots, but nevertheless, for the Israelis it was enough to eat those poor creatures. So I understood that actually happened before he was even born. So just as a side note, I would say that my birth in Israel was, from that aspect, was kind of like a miracle, but he didn't really understand the miracle. They thought of me like as like a Titan that was born like without a father, but it's not really the case because there were no like at the time there were no like father candidates in Israel at the time. It was it was after I was born on 1984. It was after like they were already all murdered or institutionalized or whatever, or fled maybe, but there were no Titans in Israel. But reality is much more complicated because I'm not a Titan at all. I am not Venusian. So the question is, who are the targets of this system? It's still in effect and it's still widely used because everyone in Israel knows about the system, like how to do it. So the answer is very simple. It's very the target are the Palestinians and the Arab population in Israel, like citizens of Israel that do not comply with the demands of the authority. But currently, there are such population that does barely exist. In the past there was it was an issue, but today almost 100% of the Arab Israeli citizens inside the territory of Israel itself are totally complying with the demands of the system, and many are actually part of the system, even part of the Shabak. So today it's not really needed. To the extent that it was needed in the past from the Israeli point of view to actually exert the system on the Arab citizens of Israel. But in the past it was certainly done. But what is still done in great extent is executing this method on the Palestinians that are not citizens of Israel, but from the point of view from the aspect of speaking about this method, they are like local citizens, not and they are treated by the Shabak, not the Mossad, because the Shabak has a full control of all the Palestinian territories. 100% of it, they are controlled by the Shabak. And this is well known, and this is and this reality was historically since 1967, even before 1967 actually, but certainly since 1967, this reality is one of the main strategic objectives. You hear the sirens, they don't want me to speak. Since 1967, this was one of the main objectives of the Israeli strategy, different strategy. It's a main objective of the entire state of Israel since 1967, and also before that, but to a lesser extent. But that's one of the key points in the Israeli agenda, defense agenda and agenda in general. That the population that is under Palestinian control, it doesn't matter if it's called territory A, B, or C, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But but the objective is very clear that the entire population, in Gaza, the Gaza Strip, in you say Yehuda v'Shomron, the West Bank, will be under the boot of the Shabak, which means that the Shabak has. First of all, it's very easy because they don't have they don't have independent electricity. So I mean, all the electricity, like I mean, infrastructure is maintained by the Israelis, and that alone can, like I mean, is like 80% of the, like the logistic that is needed in order to maintain the system. That alone, I mean, is almost enough for the method, because they're not really, I mean, independent. I mean, of course, like there are soldiers all over the place, all around the year, always. There are many like military, I mean, military operations all over the place. There are so many spies and, like, you know, Shabakniks, and like I mean, and like tremendous amount of, like all sort of, like I mean, cooperators, and I mean, the Arab society, the Palestinian society is like, I mean, it's like a nest that is full of like cooperators with the Israelis, with the Shabak, and of course, I mean, they're locked, they are landlocked by the Israelis. So I mean, like communication is complete. I mean, communication, like both like traditional communication and like electronic communication, is 100% controlled by the Israelis. And it should also be said to people that are not aware of the situation or are not really interested in the Middle East, that it's incredibly small territory. Like a while ago, I mean, 2 times I've done it. It's actually illegal, but I don't know if it's illegal actually, but I think it might not be that legal. But I actually like took a trip in the Palestinian Authority, like I mean, using, I mean, with my Tesla. I mean, you can do it. I mean, I am not sure it's that legal, but you can do it. I mean, you don't need to do anything special, just drive your Tesla. So I just like took a trip in the Palestinian Authority, and I mean, I stopped like to eat at some place, and like I've done a little bit of shopping, nothing really special. But what was so amazing to me, that it's so small. Like I mean, you can like traverse all of, like I mean, the West Bank, like north, south, and east, west with the Tesla Model 3, like in like and the roads are I mean, they have very little, like I mean, even like two lane roads that are, I mean, the basic, like the most basic kind of road that you can think of are actually not the standard. Like I mean, the standard is just a road with 1 lane, just, I mean, whatever. And certainly they don't have nothing like, I mean, highways or things like that. So it's very, like I mean, it's you can drive very quickly, even like if you have like a quick car, but it's so small that you can traverse all of it like in a matter of like small number of hours. Like I mean, do see almost everything like in like 2 hours or something like that. I'm not kidding. Like it's so small. It's incredible. I mean, it's incredibly small, and I mean, it's unbelievable how much people speak about it, like in international media, like how much for so long. It's such a huge subject, like the Palestinian Authority, what's going to be the future of the Palestinian Authority, and I mean how the Israelis and them will make peace. But in reality, I mean, I guess that most of the people that actually speak about it cannot even like comprehend how small it is. Like I mean, it's tiny. It's just a tiny piece of land, like with not. It's funny how tiny it is. I mean. And so much noise around it. Like I mean, of course, most of it is generated by the Israelis that wanted to be that way because they need excuse for their militaristic like nature, and this relates to, I mean, the 2 videos that I've recorded around this the last Independence Day, like about like a month ago. They called it a holiday for the IDF, and this, of course, this relates very, very strongly to the issue of the holiday of the IDF. So the holiday of the IDF should be maintained forever, and for that purpose, this small piece of land is presumably, I mean, the crux of a never-ending international conflict. But it's so small. I mean, you can, I mean, and I did, like you can drive, like you can see almost all of it, like with a quick car, you can like see everything. Like I mean, like in 2 or 3 hours, including like a 1 hour like stay to eat at some place, and another like 30 minutes or 20 minutes stay to do shopping. Like including that, you can see everything. It's incredibly small, and it's landlocked by the Israelis, and it's like and under their control completely. So from that aspect, it should be understood that the Palestinians are, from the point of view of the system, of the method that I speak about, they are like part of Israel. They are not citizens because they don't have rights, but they are like citizens in from the method point of view. That means that they can, that the method could be exerted on them like with full capacity, because of the so many spies within like cooperators in the population, and because it's landlocked, and because electricity is maintained by the Israelis, and communication is controlled by the Israelis, and there is such a huge presence of the military inside the territory all year round. So I want to start like a new recording, in which, and this will be in the next recording, I will say what exactly are the objectives of the method within the Palestinian society, and this will not be something that is nice to hear, because we will speak about things that are difficult to hear and to think about for any person that is not a monster, like people of the Israeli intelligence and defense communities. Like for normative people, what I'm going to say will be incredibly difficult to hear, but it should be said, and I will elaborate on it on the next video.